Hi everyone, this is Renee Francis with A Matter of Perception. Tonight we are going to be taking a look at the case of little baby DeOrr Kunz out of Idaho Falls, Idaho, missing too long now. We had gotten a request back in the early part of November to construct one of our interactive maps on his behalf. And anyway, we're finally to the point where we actually feel complete with it and ready to share what we've done for him. And anyway, if you are new to A Matter of Perception, what we do is we use the stars to find the missing. Our mission is to show point of disappearance to point of recovery and how the planetary patterns that are existing in the heavens at the time of these disappearances are actually telling us where we can go and look for our missing and find them. We've been actually just using some sacred geometry, flipping the planets 90 degrees and putting them at ground level, and we want to actually let the proof be in the pudding, and we're sharing 100 cases of the hundreds that we already have, but we're taking the best of the best, and we're sharing it with you, okay, because there does exist a need for searchers to have an immediate tool that they can use to focus their searches. There is absolutely no time to waste when a child goes missing, and that's what this study began 30 years ago, was to come up with a system of identity for distance and direction. Anyway, on this page, please visit it. There's going to be 100 cases here. As of right now, there is 35 to date. And just real brief, you can go through this on your own. But what I just want to show you here is that in the case of Adam Walsh, his remains were found on the finishing point of an opposition. Let me just get a highlighter here going so I can show you this. The moon at the time when he disappeared out of the Sears Mall in Hollywood, Florida on July 27th at 12:15 p.m. The moon was 18 degrees Gemini, and it was 4 degrees away from exactly opposing Neptune. That is this opposition right here, okay? And he was found on the finishing point of this T. So he was found here on the Pisces. The bearing to where he was found from this point to this point was 344 total degrees of true north vector bearing. Okay, that translates as 14 degrees Pisces. So that would put that right here in this chart, which means that the moon being 18 degrees, it was only the moon was only 4 degrees away from squaring this point. So you see that actually squares that point and this point and that point. Then the other end of this point is here in Virgo, 14 degrees Virgo, and that's how we get a square. Okay, but it doesn't look like a square here unless you can actually see it. Let me dump that. Okay, so sometimes what we're finding is that these children are being found on the patterns, but sometimes they're finishing points. Just like in geometry, if I'm going to show you a triangle, okay, from a point to point, I got to finish it to show you the complete triangle. Okay, so that's what you're going to see, these dotted lines throughout the work. Okay, next case here, let me just dump that. Next case here is Adriana Jackson. Again, you can go back in here and read the stories behind it, but she was found on a trine. On the day that she disappeared at 7:45 a.m. when she left to walk for school on December 2nd, 2005, Jupiter and Uranus were in trine, okay? Jupiter was 7 degrees Scorpio, Uranus was 6 degrees Pisces. Water signs trine. Water signs are 120 degrees away from one another. She, again, was found on the finishing point. So if we have 3 water signs in the zodiac, we have Scorpio, we have Pisces, and we have Cancer. She was found on the Cancer, so this is a trine. Now she was found probably like the vector bearing we drew out for to complete this trine is here. She was found here. Okay, so she was found like a block of our vector line, and where she was found was only a block away. So that's not a bad hit. That's right there. Okay. Especially when you're laying these vector bearings over areas where there's homes or there's not homes, or there's ponds, and there's environments that you where somebody would go and dispose of remains. Okay, so that's Andrea Jackson. Let's go down here. I know this is Elana Erdl, sweet little thing. Again, you can come in here and read the background story on this. The point right now I just want to show you is how these kids are showing up on their patterns, okay? So when Erdl was gone on the 20th of August in 2016 at 3:55 a.m., this was a little sad story. Father's friend was sleeping over for the night, and right after the father went to bed, the friend went and got the little sweetheart out of her bed and stole the father's car and then brought her up here to where his family had a cabin. But anyway, she is not being found on the finishing point. She is actually being found right on it, right on the moon. The moon was 23 degrees Pisces, and it exactly opposed Jupiter and Mercury at 24 and 25 degrees Virgo, okay? So where she was found, from the point of that house to where her remains were found, the true north vector bearing is 355 true north vector bearing of degrees, okay? That's 25 degrees Pisces. That's only 2 degrees off from this moon, okay? That's how tight, that's how close this is, okay? So she was found on the south position. These lines here are the finishing points, because in order to make this look like a square again, this end opposes this end, and this end opposes this end, I have to finish this point so that you can see that that's a square. All right? All right, so that's it. So, again, there are, I think, right now, 38 cases here of how they all worked out. You'll see some of them are T-squares, some of them are squares, some of them are trines. This one is a trine. That should have been done in blue. That's a mistake. Might have to fix that. Everybody knows little Kaylee Anthony. She was found right on Uranus. Okay, exactly. 2 degrees off from it. Okay, the proof is in the pudding, folks. It's sacred geometry. Why? As above, so below. All right, so let's get back to DeOrr, because what we've done for this little sweetheart, let's get back to his page here. And what we've done for him is we have taken the chart of not only his birth chart, we've taken his birth chart, which is right here, and we've put it over his 920, I think the address was 928 Ida Avenue. So we put his birth chart over his residence, okay? And we're real certain, that's real strong on showing us that he is going to be, when they find him, he will be on one of these planetary patterns. Is he going to be on his Sun Pluto pattern that's squaring? Is he going to be on this? Maybe he will be on the Moon Mars opposition. Will he be here on this square? Okay, so that's what we've done. We've taken each one of these patterns and we've built them up in our map that searchers can use to actually use what they know about this case, what they know about what's unfolding, and look in those areas. Okay, I'm going to get back to the map in a little bit, but first of all, let's go down here to this 911 call. Okay, first of all, let's go down here. This is DeOrr's birth chart with his progressions and the transits of the planets where they were when he disappeared. Okay, so we have the inner ring is his birth chart. The outer ring are the progressions. When you're born, folks, the stars keep on moving. They do what we call a secondary progression. Okay, and that's what this second ring is. And then, of course, there are where all the stars are in transit at the time of a crime. So we have to actually look at pretty much like 3 different charts. But we do this in missing kid cases because we want to know, are we looking for remains or are we looking for a live child? Because the way you search for either is dramatically different. Okay, in this case, I've noted that after looking at all this stuff here, I'm going to just get a little highlighter right here. I don't see any star sign signatures in his planetary profile that tells me that he was a victim of abduction. Okay, this looks like to me that this is an accident. I'm gonna agree with what I understand. A lot of people think that this was an accident. And one of the first things you want to do in a missing kid case is you want to look at this point here. This is the ascendant. This is the head. Okay, and we know that Venus at the time was actually, look at that, 27 Leo, 27 Leo. So Venus was right on this little one's ascendant, and she was conjunct Jupiter. Okay, so this is telling me that like this was a big deal. This was a big deal even to them, and that there were several people that were almost like standing around, not believing what just happened. Okay. And that's because Jupiter's involvement. Anyway, I want to look to see what his condition of his health is. Okay, so in here, I'm actually thinking that, there's a possibility that, I know he was reported missing on the 10th, but there's possibility from different things that I see in here that the most likely he passed on the 9th. He has this sun, the sun Pluto here is conjunct in Capricorn. This indicates to me right here of an early death. Okay, the sun to Pluto for a child. DeOrr could have had a very great sense of self. He could have been a very overbearing child. And I don't mean overbearing in a bad way. I mean his sense of presence was very, very strong. Usually children or people who have Pluto on their sun, when they're on their sun, they come into the world knowing they're important, or they feel like they deserve complete attention. So he could have been a handful for anyone. He would probably really need to have a very patient mom and parents who would be able to be creative with that need in him to exude this dynamic personality, even as a little boy. Okay, when Pluto hits the sun, it's a large dynamic in personality, and it would take a special person to handle a child that does have that. Anyway, it did all this right here squared Uranus. So this right here is one indication that his life could have ended early. Now, the 8th house of death is right here in his chart, and Uranus is sitting in here. So yeah, I'm guessing that there was a very quick something that happened in a blink of an eye. Somebody wasn't paying attention, and it was an accident. Now another thing here is that his 8th house is being ruled by Jupiter in Gemini up here. Okay, and it's in trine. Let me make this another color so you can see it. So Jupiter is trine Mars. This is telling me an accident. This is telling me something with a vehicle. Mars and Mercury are the two planets that rule vehicles. Okay, Mars because of the engine, the heat, and Mercury because of the purpose of the car is to move you from one point to a next. So it has a communication kind of connotation. So because Jupiter is here and it's in Gemini, okay, so his death is directly related to somebody in the family, because Gemini, the Jupiter, is in the sign of Gemini, and it's trining Mars. So who had who had sort of like a race car or a souped up car, or somebody who maybe just, doesn't pay attention to when they're driving. This is my guess right here. So even this aspect right here is telling us that he would have expired early. Okay. And then, this is 4 degrees and this is 4 degrees. So we even have a sextile from Uranus being here to Mars. So again, all this right here is saying something swift and quick. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it there, because we are going to go ahead and look at a few more things. Well, one of the other things I did want to bring up is this Saturn right here. See this Saturn at 28 degrees? It's square here. Okay, so, and look where Saturn is. It's right here in the home. So I'm not so sure that I think that he, that something happened to him at the campsite. There is a strong chance that something happened to him while he was at home in his own driveway, own backyard. Or if somebody took him somewhere that has something to do with cars, like a junkyard, or, some kind of, maybe racetrack, or somewhere where people go and, a hot dog with their recreational vehicles, and somebody wasn't paying attention to this little one, and he got hit. That's what I'm thinking, that somebody hit him with his car. He got hit with somebody's car, or somebody left him in the car and forgot he was in there, and he expired from the heat. But I feel like that because of all this right here, that his death is directly related to a vehicle, a motor vehicle of sorts. All right, I'm going to dump that. So again, this is something you can come in and read on your own. Now, most important thing here is this call right here looks to me that they already knew that he was gone, and I'm going to tell you why here. All right, 911 call. We're going to look here. We have Venus rise, and she's conjunct Jupiter. Okay, and she's also ruled in the 12th house of things that are hidden. So from what's coming up right then and there, we have Venus conjunct Jupiter, which is the child here. Okay, and it's square Saturn. So this is telling me that wherever this child was, Jupiter's ruling the child. He was already secured where he was going to be when this call was made. Okay, Venus is not only ruling the house of things that are hitting and what's coming up at the moment, but it's ruling the house of death. And so this all right here is just kind of telling me that when this phone call was made at 2:35 on July 10th, that they already knew he was gone, and he was already placed where he was going to be hidden. One of the other things that bother me here about this chart is that we have a trine for Mercury to Neptune. So that's the lie. That it's funny that they had a friend there with them. This is the house of friends, and it's also ruling Mercury, and even not only is this the mom calling the police, but this is her calling, and so we have Jupiter up here again with Venus, and it's square to Saturn. That his location where he was, DeOrr, is locked in. But that Saturn is going to concrete him. It's going to lock him in at that time. So to me, when I look at this chart, they already know that he is passed. Okay, when I say they, I mean I mean directly to the person who made this phone call. Knew, okay, because this is her making that phone call. And another thing is that the moon moon is always has rulership over the mother. And it is in trine to Pluto down here, which is it's the Pluto remains. It rules the corpse, and it's in trine here. So now it's intercepted, which means when a sign is intercepted, it means from where your point is on the earth, you can't see that. If you were going to look up in the heavens, you wouldn't be able to see that constellation. The orbit can be it wands. It comes in and out a little bit. It's eccentric, and so the sign that's ruling the mother, she had nowhere. I just get the feeling that someone actually helped her plan this, almost like this is something that she couldn't do on her own, and actually had a little help. Like she's this whole ruse to go up here and say that something happened up there is based on somebody else telling her that that's what she should do. Anyway, at least that's what I get. Okay, too much family involvement here. Actually, it's too much. Look, we have all this stuff in Cancer here. This is all family. Okay, all that's family, and it's opposing. This up here is all opposing death of Pluto right down here. So, I think the most important thing here is probably just to go ahead and get to our map and see, what the patterns are and where they're pulling out, and see if we can help. What any areas to look, okay? So I could actually, when you come to this page, okay, there is our map, okay? And you're going to have all these folders in here, all right? Your best bet is to use this link to view this map. It'll open it up and it will look, nope, that's mine. It will look like this, okay? And then you will be able to get satellite, okay? If you stay on the page here, you will not be able to get that. You can open up this, by hitting this button, you can open up this map and go full screen, but you will not be able to get satellite, okay? So the best bet is to use this link here. Okay, but you can peruse the map here if you want. Always use the desktop if you want to get on an iPad. That's good too. Not great on phones. You know, you have to struggle a little bit to hone in and, you know, resize stuff, because you will be able to hone in and get real close on some of these lines and where they go over. Anyway, I am not going to use the map here. I'm going to use the map that you would use if you clicked on this link. So that is here. Nope, it's here. Okay, so this is what we've done. We've taken all the planetary patterns for that 911 call, okay, when she said he was gone, and we put all their lines. Now watch how crazy this gets. This is nuts. Okay, this is all those patterns. Okay, so, oh, it looks like he can be anywhere, right? Well, yes, of course, it looks like he can be anywhere, but ideally, what you want to do is, I would be amiss if I didn't give you all of these, okay? But I don't want you to look at them like this. I want you to look at them one at a time, okay? I want you to look at them one at a time. So if I pull up, I'm going to just pull up the chart real quick, okay? So this is his 911 call, all right? I'm just going to move this over here, okay? So his 911 call, Pluto and this is opposing here, okay? So that's this T-square. I'm turning that one on, and I'm going to shut the Mars-Neptune trine off, okay? Now, I want you to look at this, okay? These are all your radiuses, okay? I actually have one. Let me scan down for a little bit so you can see them all. If I turn them all on, okay, you're going to see 3 miles, 14 miles, 18 miles, 20 miles, 23 miles, 27 miles, 28 miles, okay? I went out and I drew it all the way 108 miles right back to his home, okay? That's what I did. I took this just in case when they left, and if they put him somewhere halfway from this point to this point, I figure my best bet is to go full distance. Okay, but you don't have to look at these with all them on. I'm thinking if something did happen to him at that campground, I would take 9 and 10 and leave them on, and I'm going to shut everything else off. Okay, but you can turn them on. And this is the midway point, halfway in black. Okay, sometimes I just do that just for good measure. Okay. All right, so if I leave 9 and 10 on, okay, which is very, very strong, because, let me show you this real quick. DeOrr, in his chart, okay, DeOrr has his sun and his Pluto at 9 degrees, so it's a good chance that he could be just 9 miles away from either his residence where they put him or from that campground, okay? And now 9 degrees and 9 Sun's 9 degrees, Pluto's 9 degrees, and not only that, but it's Saturn sextiling it. So we have a Sun-Saturn sextile. So if I go back in here, that's not the one I want to be in for you. Okay, if I go in here and I turn on both the T-square and the trine, look what I'm getting. Okay, now look what happens when we come up here. We have all this water up here going along this old Idaho 28, okay, and we have lines here. So I'm going to draw another, I can't do it in here, I actually have to go on the map where I created it. Okay, so if I turn on this trine, okay, I'm actually going to come up here, and I want to draw, there's all these little canals and stuff here, so I would want to do another hotspot right here, okay? Now remember, you don't want to look directly on lines. Not that he wouldn't be directly on the lines, but you know, you can look on either side of them, you know, and again, these radiuses here for distance, you know, you want to look near them, okay? You know, what looks right, okay? So I know that they went to this store that was up on the hill here, But, if in fact something did happen to DeOrr at that campground the night before, and I strongly feel like it was the night before, and I'm going to say that because look at this moon. When she called the police, is 14, okay? I needed this moon to be earlier in order for something to have happened. So 10 hours earlier, that would give us, this would be about 7 degrees. And then we would have, this would be closer here. This moon would be closer here to this Neptune when something went amiss. Okay, it would be closer here to making an aspect with Mercury. Okay, that's already in trine. If we go 10 hours earlier, this moon would put us more in a position of something happening to him. Okay, so that's why I'm thinking if something did happen to him up at this campground, then it probably happened the night before. Okay, somebody wasn't paying attention. All right, so these are the two areas that I would go immediately and look. But if I turn on, now I don't know what you know. You want to turn on 14 miles? You want to go 14 miles? Do you want to go up this road 29? But look at this road 28. This bugs me, okay? Because look at this chart. Look at this chart. Saturn is 28 degrees. It is very, very probable in a lot of these cases. When you read through our 100 cases, you're going to see how the planet's measurement, even in their sign signatures, are offering you the roads that we use to travel with these children. When I tell you it's very profound and it's very disturbing, it's very profound and it's very disturbing. That when you see this happening in another case, you're going to say, you know what, I would look off this Route 28. Okay? So pay attention to this. Cavern Canal, I'm not so sure about this. This case is very, very odd. Very, very odd. No one has spoken up yet about this. So could he be down here and on this line? Okay, because of course, because this is the sun. This is very powerful. And out of the cases that we're looking at, especially with children, the sun and moon play in a great deal to the vector bearing. And that's because the children are ruled by the sun and the moon. The moon's the closest planet to us. And then, then Mercury plays in a lot because it's the closest planet to us. When you start dealing with missing adults, then we start getting planets that are a little out there that are playing in, aspecting the vector bearing, coming in, Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. So I would keep my nose to a lot of these that have the sun and the sun, moon, and Mercury involvement. Okay, so if I turn on the moon, all right, so now we're over here. All right, so play with this. Where did they go? Where did they have cell pings? That's all I can say. As far as here, I'm thinking that could they have gone in these directions? Of course they could, but what does that look like? They have roads going in there? What if they went into these mountains? I don't know. I think people follow the path of least resistance, and I'm thinking that, say if they wanted to come back and get him after this was all over and give him some kind of a little bit more of a proper goodbye, if you know what I mean. They would have put him somewhere where they would be able to go back and find him. So, I don't know. There could be a very good chance that, DeOrr could have hung around, been hidden somewhere up here until things blew over, and then they certainly could have went back up and got him and did something a little bit more humane for him. Anyway, that's what I think. It's just very, very odd, the whole thing. All right, so this folder is going to give you the 911, okay? So you have this same folder is in the one that you're going to look at. I'm sorry, right here. The same folder is right here. You can close it, okay? And you can turn it off, turn everything off, okay? And then you can turn on and turn off all the hot spots that were done. So now if we want to do DeOrr's birth chart, I put DeOrr's birth chart. Let's go down. Okay, so we're going to go back down here to back home. All right. And now this is Dior's birth chart. Now look at this 9 again. I'm going to turn that on, okay? And turn the 7 miles off and the 1 mile. These are all these measurements are to what the planet's measured in his birth chart, okay? Could he be at one of them that's not? Of course he can. What this needs to be used alongside of sound investigative procedures and what you know. I would try to find out everything I possibly knew about these two, where they worked, who their friends were, what their pastime fun were. I have a feeling that, I don't know, that something fun was surrounding his accident. There was like a, whether too much drinking or something fun was going on at the time of this accident. And if the accident did occur at the campsite and it did happen at home, where were they the day before? Who was there? Who visited? I would want to know all that. If I was a detective, those would be the questions that I'd be looking to answer, is what went on the day before. Anyway, so all of Dior's stuff is going to be in blue, okay? Remember, I told you about his son, Pluto thing, very, very strong, okay? Is heading out over here there's a raceway or something over here. I want to know. I want to know if they have any relationship to anybody over here in this racetrack that's in this area right here called Park Noise or Noise Park or whatever. Looks like this is a bunch of place where people go and ride their recreational vehicles. And anyway, I just want to bring that up. Since there's a line going over there, and then even when we did your persons of interest here, they have lines heading out over in this direction too. So, like I said, I would want to know everything, every place that these folks worked and who their friends were. People are going to follow the path of least resistance, and they're going to covet what they know. So I don't think that if whatever happened, whatever they did with Dior to hide him, they went someplace where they know. Okay, so if I go back onto the road here, that's why it's almost good to look at this with that link that I said, so that you can see areas. So I also have this area up here. I don't know. This is bothering me, that this area up here is bothering me when I saw this church, because there was, I don't know, I get the feeling that, whatever this accident happened, no one wanted to own it because of whatever else was involved with it, whether it was smoking a little dope or, whatever was going on, snorting some cocaine, who knows? Who knows if any of that stuff was going on, and if somebody who was their supplier was there, and it would get a whole bunch of other people. And it's very hard to think why a whole bunch of people would keep something a secret, and that would be because they just don't want to own it and they don't want to go to jail for it. So, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't do something that they would feel that would give them some comfort. For some reason, when I saw this Church of Latter-day Saints up here by this canal, and that it came in 9 miles. This spot right here hit me like a ton of bricks. This would probably be one of the first places that I would go look, right off this road here in Grant. Okay, and then the second place I'd go look would be this Midway area right here up by this Junkyard Road. Okay, I'd go look up here. See this canal going through here? That's where I go. Now, I know that you don't see lines going through this, okay? But if I turn one of these other ones on, okay, see if I turn them all on, I get a little bit more going through there. But remember, it's not so much where the lines are. The lines are helping to show us some direction. But when you start looking at the lines as they are, and you want to see, well, gee, what is in this area? And when you see this line is going over a whole bunch of people's houses, well, unless we thought that Dior was, alive, and that he could be in one of these houses here, then this line works, okay? But I don't think that's the case. I think that it's okay if we look off the line. We go a little bit to the east or the west of the line. Okay, so this would be for me. This would be the second place I'd go look if I was in Idaho and I was looking for this sweetheart. This would be my first, and this would be my second. This here, I'm not sure why. Oh, this was the other end. Let me see what was here. I think I worried about this area because of this farm to market road was bothering me, and because it ran right up along this coming in here, this canal, farmland. Like, does they know anybody over there in that area? What else did I have? Oh, here's one. Oh, this bugs me too. All right, let me show you this. This would be another one that I would look at right here. And I say this because you have a canal going through here. Okay. You have a I think this was nothing. Miles was going out here. Sorry, but I'm doing this off the cuff. 7 miles, 10 miles, 18 miles. Yeah, look, this is 1 mile. Okay, most of the kids in our study are going to find that they're found within a mile. They're found within a mile. They never go that far. Okay. And so when I went to a mile on these lines, I was just looking. I'm saying, okay, well, you got this Route 20 here. But when we get out here, it starts getting a little bit more. We got a canal here. We got the railroad tracks. The railroad tracks is bothering me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because DeOrr, in his stars, hold on. Sorry, I'm doing this off the cuff, so just bear with me. Quick display. DeOrr has his Mars in Aquarius. That's railroad, and it is in a sextile to Uranus, which is railroad. So Mars is his burial place is down here. Okay, where he would be buried is here. Scorpio is ruling this house, and Mars rules Scorpio, and he's here in the 6th, and he's sextile Uranus. And it's in Aquarius. So Aquarius rules railroad. Uranus rules Aquarius. So the same planet. I'm just saying I think you should look by the railroad as well. That could definitely play in. This would also give us uneven ground, rocky ground. Okay, and uneven ground. Or it can give us railroad where things. And not only that, but Mars is in the 6th house, and that's work. So when I saw this, let me just dump this here. I just want to show you why I brought up that railroad thing. Let me put that down for a minute. When I saw this railroad up here, I was like, And then a line's going over here. And this line is the IP for Taurus. So this is part of his sun sextile that's holding the position of his sun. So that's why I was looking at that area. And look, it's doubled up because we have... So if I turned on the moon, we're getting 2 lines. Watch. See, we're getting 2 lines going through there. So we're getting the IP for the Sun Saturn sextile, and then we're getting it again because it's involved with... That's what the 11 was here. I think that's what that was. You need to turn both of those on. Okay. So what was the other hotspot I did here? Okay, I showed you the midway, right? Did that one. I think there was one more. Oh, what's here? This is another one. This is another one, and the reason why I think I did this one was because of Route 28. So this is where they would have to get on Route 28 to go up to, if DeOrr did in fact expire at home in Idaho Falls, and they were taking him when they were going up here to do this whole ruse. You know, they could have, like I said, maybe went like halfway. So if I put on, if we got put 28 miles on, okay, which again, look at this 28, okay, is for Saturn at the time. Okay, that's Saturn's distance. Hold on, I got to show you this. Okay, so Saturn's distance is 28. Okay, so if we went 28 miles, it takes us 28 miles. It takes us out to get on Route 28. Okay, so if we go 28 miles from their home on Ada, that marker actually takes us right up here to where we have to catch 828 to get up to the campsite. Okay, so I would, my second area to look would be in here somewhere. So if anything in your investigation pans out to this area or any of those circles, I would take a good look in this area too, from what you know. Okay, so that's his birth chart, and birth charts over resonances are very, very powerful, very, very profound. After we're done with the 100 case study showing the illustrations publicly, we, or probably somewhere in the middle of there, we're going to start the other page of 100 of the same 100 cases and how their birth charts actually showed remains, direction for remains. Okay, so this one, this file is, keep your attention on this, okay? But we did put your 2 points of interest in here, okay? And you want to look at them too, because look, his Saturn's 9 miles. That's his Saturn's coming out here. His Saturn is coming out here. See how? So even, you know, what we're finding in our study, that even the assailants, their own birth stars are telling us where they put them. Okay, they're playing into these patterns. They're having something in their stars touching something in their victim stars and relaying to where they decide to place the remains. So if we look at him, and for instance, let me do this real quick. Let me put this over here. I'm going to show you something real fast. So let's do this. We're going to take little DeOrr. Okay, this is his birth start. I know this is getting a little long. We're at 42 minutes, but I think it's worth it. I'm going to compare him to his, let's compare him to his mom. Okay, so this is DeOrr's chart in the middle. This is his mom's on the outside. Okay, do you see something? Do you see what's happening here? You see this? His Mars is 4 degrees. Her sun is 4 degrees. Okay, if she was born one day earlier or one day before, this would not be that measurement. Okay, so let's turn this off for a second. Let's turn on something that connects her sun with his Mars. Okay, let's do that. We're going to do that in a minute, but I just want to see. So look at this. So his sun and his Pluto are conjunct here in Capricorn, and look at this. Her Mercury and her Neptune, which forces her to lie, is conjunct the sun and Pluto. So I want to look. I'm not sure what time she was born, so I don't know what degree her moon is. That's one of the bad things about not having a time, that you can't be sure. But I know this is dead on with this. So we're going to look at her sun. We're going to turn her sun on, and we're going to turn her Mercury on, and we're going to see where those lines go. Because wherever if she was the one who hid this child, then her stars over her resonance is going to show us where she went. Okay? So I need to shut this off so we can go and turn on the those details in our map. All right, so I'm going to put this down. So we're going to turn on, let's turn Vernal off. We can do the same thing with him, but we're a little bit of a time restraint here. So what did I say? I said that her sun, okay, and his Mars, look at that. Look at this, these two. They're on one another, aren't they? And what did we have going out there? Oh boy. So we can look somewhere here. Okay, what was going on here? It looks like it's going over people's houses here. Oh no, that looks like land. See, it's wonderful when you know where you are and you know what what the temperature of stuff is. So that's what I did. I turned on her sun, and I turned on his Mars, but he also has that too. Okay. So now we have that. What was the other one we had? We had her Mercury. Her Mercury was on his. What says Mercury on? Oh, it was on his sun. Look at this. Okay, what's up here? What's here? What's up here? See? What's here? That's what I'm talking about. When you start turning them on together, now you start to paint the picture. So you can actually, you can turn him all off, and just look at her. What do you know? Where did she work on any of these lines? Let me show you this case real quick, and then I'm gonna wrap it up. Susan Smith, no, not her. Timothy Wiltsey. Okay. Okay. This little boy's mom said she went to the carnival, turned around, bought a soda, and he was gone. Okay. And she said this all happened, sweet little Timothy Wiltsey. She said this happened at 7:30, May 25th, okay? And we knew she was lying because we have Pluto rising here at the ascendant, conjunct the ascendant, okay? It's exactly trine Venus in this 8th house of death. So she already knew that he was dead when she said. The police were never able to confirm that Timothy was there at the carnival. Okay, they confiscated people's cameras, video cameras. They were not able to place this sweet little boy at that carnival. Okay, so let's dump that. Let's come down to his map real quick. Okay, Timothy lived here. The carnival was here. His first sneaker was found here. The rest of his remains were found here. And this right here is the Raritan River in New Jersey. This, when it rains and floods, it floods out this whole area in here. Okay, so they were thinking that, things had moved around. Anyway, what happened is that when we put Timothy's birth chart, and here's his birth chart, when we put his birth chart over his home, okay, 1 mile. 1 mile goes out to where his mother decided she said she was going to lose him. Okay, 2 miles goes out to where they found his remains. See that blue's covering that up? Okay. He had a Mars-Jupiter opposition, and it made a T-square. That opposition, he had a Mars-Jupiter opposition T-square that went right to where his remains were found. Okay, and this is over his home. Okay. Mercury, he had a Mercury-Saturn square. And the Mercury-Saturn square, now the Saturn went down to the carnival where she said she lost them. And then the other part of it up here is the finishing points. And they were right here in the area of where they found him. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is Michelle Ladzinski, Timothy's mother, she worked over here. She worked over here at Raritan Center as a secretary. And when she was questioned by police and she was asked about her jobs, she never offered that she worked here. Okay? And the police never took it upon themselves to actually double check and see where all the places that she used to work. Okay? So when they found a sneaker here, what happened was they showed it to her and she says, no, that's not his sneaker. Okay, so what happened was they wind up putting the sneaker away. All right, then the guy that found the sneaker here, he was so bothered by it that he wind up calling a FBI agent about it, and the FBI agent went and dug a little further and found out that Michelle Lazinski, Timothy's mom, did in fact have a job over here, and so when they went back and they did their search, they found his partial remains in here with a blanket, and some of his remains were inside of a tire with a blanket, and they were pretty much scattered because again, this all gets flooded and stuff in here. But Michelle Lazinski, actually, after all this time, they just went down with a guilty verdict on the 18th. So, so there's definitely some help here for our little DeOrr that the right thing's coming in time. Everything happens in its own time. So that's it. I think we're at almost close to 50 minutes here. That's pretty long. And anyway, God bless. Hopefully, maybe the map will help people who are actually doing some searches for him. And we'll just over here just keep our fingers crossed. And God bless everyone. Have a happy holidays and be safe with you and your family. Enjoy each other. Love each other. Remember, Christmas doesn't have anything to do with what's under your tree. It has everything to do with in your heart. So I will leave it there, and just keep our fingers crossed that this little one gets found and gets brought home. Thanks for watching.